All right, you've probably all heard the devastating news by now. Late Night with Stephen Colbert is being canceled. I know. I can't believe it took so long either. On paper, this is just another late night host wrapping up a run, but if you look a little closer, this is more than that. This is a legacy institution being quietly buried. A show that was once part of the American bloodstream is getting pulled off of life support by the very people who claim to be keeping it alive. Let's start at the top. Stephen Colbert used to be funny. At least that's what people said when he was playing a character back on Comedy Central as the smug, fake conservative host of the Colbert Report. He knew how to thread the needle. He was sharp, ironic, and more importantly, he was playing a role. Then he got the Late Show gig in 2015. Letterman had retired, and CBS gave Colbert the keys to the kingdom. But instead of being a fresh voice, he just became the voice of one half of the country. The Late Show was supposed to be a reprieve, a funny, sometimes ridiculous way to unwind after a long day. And over time, it turned into a bastion of political virtue signaling and Trump Derangement Syndrome. A nightly sermon for the #resistance. The guests, very seldom are they interesting. They're mostly politicians pushing their leftist agenda, doing pre-approved sit-downs with a host who wouldn't challenge them at all. By 2017, after the Trump inauguration, Colbert turned The Late Show into a therapy session for liberals. Every night, same formula. Roast Trump, trigger the audience, collect applause. The media called it clapter, the kind of laugh that isn't really about the humor, but about signaling your politics. And for a while, it worked. He became number one in late night. But here's the thing about building your entire brand about a guy you hate. Eventually, that guy's gonna leave office. And then what? Instead of pivoting, Colbert doubled down. Under Biden, he kept the sanctimony cranked up. More commentary, less comedy. One of the more infamous lowlights, the vaccine bit, where he danced with syringe mascots chanting vaccine over salsa music. It was state-sponsored cringe, to say the least, and it left all of us wondering, where are the jokes? Colbert blurred the line between satire and sermon. He wasn't hosting The Late Show anymore. He was hosting the Faithful Progressive Hour, brought to you by Pfizer. So when he told his audience a couple days ago that CBS had pulled the plug, it hit hard, but not entirely out of nowhere. The show that used to define the cultural moment had become the punchline itself. CBS says the cancellation was just business, stating it was a purely financial decision. And to be fair, they're not wrong. Late night TV is collapsing, and the ratings are down across the board, and younger viewers don't stay up for 11:30 p.m. monologues anymore. In that time, they're scrolling TikTok or catching some clips on YouTube the next morning, and those clips don't make nearly the money that network ads used to. Back in 2018, late night shows brought in $439 million in ad revenue. In 2024, just $220 million. That's over a 50% collapse. Colbert still led his time slot, but leading a sinking ship isn't exactly a bragging point. CBS had already canceled The Late Late Show in 2023. NBC cut Fallon to 4 nights a week and axed Seth Meyers' live band. All of them were trimming the fat. Meanwhile, Greg Gutfeld, the conservative upstart on Fox News, is pulling over 3 million viewers a night and laughing all the way to the top. He's not just beating Colbert, he's replacing the whole idea of what late night even is. And Colbert, his show costs $100 million a year to produce and was losing $40 million annually. Even if you liked him, those numbers don't work. You can't run a prestige vanity project when the prestige is fading and the vanity costs more than it brings in. CBS could have asked him to take a pay cut, but it doesn't appear that they even did that. They just canceled the whole thing. And maybe they saw the writing on the wall. The market has moved on. Alright, now let's talk about the money. Colbert was making around $15 to $20 million a year, and the show costs $100 million per season. And it wasn't pulling in enough ad dollars to justify any of it. And advertisers weren't just paying less because of viewership drops. They were getting nervous. Colbert had become radioactive for anyone who didn't want to be dragged into the culture war. And then there's the elephant in the studio. the pharmaceutical ads. Colbert's most loyal advertisers are Big Pharma, which made the vaccine song and dance number feel less like comedy and more like product placement. But now that Trump's back in office and his administration is floating a ban on direct-to-consumer drug ads, that means a huge chunk of the network TV's lifeblood is about to dry up. Colbert's show, heavily bankrolled by those ads. It's not hard to connect the dots. When the ad dollars vanish, the shows go with them. And let's be honest here, the timing is interesting. Just 3 days before CBS canceled The Late Show, Colbert spent his monologue trashing his own network's parent company, Paramount, for settling a lawsuit with Donald Trump. He called it a big fat bribe and accused them of selling out journalism. 3 days later, he's out. CBS swears it's unrelated, but the optics don't look great here. This is the same Colbert who built his brand tearing into Trump every night, who once called him Vladimir Putin's cock holster on live TV, who was so cozy with Democrats, he literally had the former First Lady Jill Biden guest host an episode. So when CBS axes him after he bashes their Trump settlement, people notice. Democrats like Elizabeth Warren and Adam Schiff called foul. The Writers Guild called for an investigation. The media cried censorship. And Trump, he cheered, saying that Colbert had even less talent than ratings and said that Jimmy Kimmel was, quote, next. For the right, this is vindication. Colbert has spent a decade talking down to half the country. Now the network turned off his mic. And there's more irony here. For years, Colbert painted Trump as a threat to free speech. But when the suits came for him, Trump didn't even need to lift a finger. Corporate accountants did the job for him. Was it political? Was it financial? It's probably both, but the result is the same regardless. The most sanctimonious voice in late night is signing off, and nobody's replacing him. CBS isn't even pretending to find a new host. They're walking away from the whole genre, which tells you everything you need to know. Stephen Colbert's Late Show wasn't canceled just because it was expensive. It was canceled because it lost the plot. The show forgot that late night was supposed to offer laughter and levity, not lectures. What was once entertainment became a pulpit for political messaging, moral posturing, and manufactured panic. A lecture, not a late night show. A party where only half the country was invited. And in the end, it alienated too many people, cost too much money, and didn't make enough people laugh. Whatever you think about Colbert, this isn't just about him. It's about the collapse of a format that used to unify, now used to divide. The death of a genre that once made spaces for all kinds of voices and got replaced by YouTubers, podcasters, and cable hosts who don't need a network's permission. The lights are going out on late night TV, and nobody really seems that upset. So yeah, maybe that's the real punchline. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you got value from it, please hit the like button and subscribe for more case studies every month.